Yes, everybody. Welcome back to Threadman Shazza. Welcome back to YouTube. We're back today with another show, a good tactical preview today of our semi-final against Brighton. So please do get involved in the comments, guys. Let me know your thoughts on tomorrow's game. We've already got Ali Mo in the comments. Let's go. Big up, bro. Thanks a lot for coming along. Please do get involved in the chat, guys. We're going to do sort of a bit of a preview for the Brighton game. I think a lot of Man United fans are worried about Brighton, worried about the way they're going to set up. So let's sort of talk about it, have a look through sort of the tactical side and what we think is going to happen exactly in this game. So hi, Booklock. I hope you're well, mate. I hope everyone's well. I'm just watching this. I don't know. Is anyone watching this Man City Sheffield United game? Still 0-0 after 16 minutes, you know. Still got half a hope that Sheffield United might do something here. But yeah, I've just got the game on now. You know, but we've got to do our job tomorrow. So let's have a think. Let's have a think about this game. So I don't know how you guys feel about this game before we do sort of the tactical side, but I think a lot of the fan base is expecting Man United to lose tomorrow. A lot of the fan base is expecting Man United to lose. Big up Jose, thanks a lot for coming along, mate. And start Butland, that's all I have to say. Very interesting, very interesting. So I think a lot of the fan base are quite skeptical for tomorrow. Like from what I put a couple of comments out on Twitter, and there's a lot of people that are really thinking we're gonna get beaten tomorrow. And I think certainly form wise, I think turning up for big games this season, I think we've had a few issues, but I don't think you can count Manchester United out of this game. I think Brighton are a very, very good team, but they do lack that sort of clinical edge that we have with the likes of Rashford, Bruno. We've got Eriksen as well. And I do think that Brighton will probably dominate the possession side of things. But I do think Manchester United have got a chance of winning tomorrow. Do I think we will win? I think it's going to be a tough game, but we've definitely got half a chance. We should always have a chance. And Brighton, very interestingly, guys, apparently they've never, ever won at Wembley. So Brighton have played 5 games at Wembley in their history. They've drawn 1 and lost 4. So Brighton have never, ever won a game at Wembley. So very, very interesting. I know they've got a lot of new players now, new manager, new way of playing. So it's a lot different. But just an interesting stat there. Booklog says, I just hate the mentality. Yep, I think the mentality-wise in these big games, we've certainly got to improve. Ali Mo says, yeah, Maguire's suspended, so it probably will be Shaw and Lindelof. But let's have a look, guys, at the tactical side of things. So let me sort of get the tactical side of things together. We can have a look at what we sort of think Manchester United are going to do tactically, because obviously there's a lot of interesting tactical points that you could look at. But just let me know, guys, if you can see my screen. Like if that looks all clear to you guys, just let me know. Because we're going to look at the tactics of Brighton, the way they sort of like to play, and also sort of like what we think Man United will do. But just let me know you can see that clearly, guys. That screen clearly, and then we can get on with it. But I'm just looking at some comments. Jose says we'll be interested to see Mitoma against Wan-Bissaka, definitely. And yep, thanks for the comments so you guys can see. Okay, perfect. So let's actually have a look at the tactical side of things then. So obviously Manchester United, in terms of our lineup, I think the goalkeeper, I know obviously David De Gea has had some awful times this season, and against Sevilla it was terrible. He's obviously had some good times as well, but David De Gea sort of against Seville, David De Gea was really, really poor. But I don't expect David De Gea to be replaced, right? It's quite unrealistic. So I think the back four picks itself. I think the only thing I'm a little bit skeptical about is this. I think Dalot or Malacia, but I do believe Malacia has been injured, hasn't he? And I think Malacia has also obviously had a tough time recently, particularly in that home game against Seville. So I do think that Ten Hag will probably go with Dalot. The only issue I've got on this hand side, this left-hand side for us here, is when you've got two players who are playing in positions that they don't always play in. So that's just my only concern on this left-hand side. You've got Luke Shaw. We know he's very, very good as a left centre-back, albeit with the small sample size. We've seen him play a few games there. But then you've got Dalot as well, who's not used to playing left-back all the time. We know he can play there. He's done a good job there for AC Milan when he went out there on loan. He's done a good job there when he against Nottingham Forest for us. He's played there before in possession. He looks quite comfortable there. But we know Diogo Dalot and Shaw, when you've got two fullbacks on that side that are not usually playing in those positions, that can be a slight concern. So that I've got a slight concern about that, but I think it's probably the only option we've got. So we're going to have to do it, right? We're going to have to do it. For one game, we might be okay with it. So big up Vera Ajeki. I hope I've pronounced your name right, mate. He says, hello, I'm new here. Great work. I really, really appreciate you coming along. Please do subscribe if you're new. Please do like the video as well. And Jose says, I'd start Dalot because we need a lot of positional discipline. That's the reason I'm really scared of Wan-Bissaka because he is awful at getting dragged out of position. I think that's one of Wan-Bissaka's weaknesses. I think Dalot's positioning is quite good, so I do agree with you on that. But I think, do you guys agree? Do you guys agree on the goalkeeper and the back four? Do you guys think the goalie in the back four is going to be this? I don't see too much else with the goalkeeper and the back four. I mean, we don't really have that many options. But just let me know, guys, whether you agree on this, the goalie and the back four for us. I can't see us starting with any other sort of defence and goalkeeper there. Big up Alien Tenno. And Vera says, I would start Wan-Bissaka because Dalot, I think Wan-Bissaka against Mitoma is going to be an interesting one. But I do think that's going to be the back four. Ali Mo says we don't have any options. I do agree there. I think that's going to be our back four and our goalkeeper. So let's talk about the midfield, guys, because this is a really interesting debate. Because, Man City nearly scored there. Because obviously we've had a lot of injuries, a lot of suspensions, but this is probably the first time in a while where we've had Casemiro, Eriksen, Bruno, Sabitzer. I think McTominay's still injured, but we've got Fred as well. So we've got most of our midfield players actually available to play. Now, this is what I think Ten Hag will do. I'm not sure on this, but Casemiro will obviously play and Bruno will obviously play. I think this Eriksen situation is quite interesting. I'd like to know your guys' thoughts on Eriksen, because Christian Eriksen the other day, really off the ball in particular. On the ball, he wasn't actually that bad. He had a few sloppy giveaways, but on the ball, he had a few key passes in that game. A lot of his long passes were accurate as well. So Eriksen on the ball wasn't too bad, but off the ball against Seville, he looked really leggy. He looked really, really poor. I know what everybody did, maybe other than Anthony. I think Wan-Bissaka and Dalot and Lindelof were sort of okay, but a lot of our players in that game were poor off the ball, right? But I think Eriksen was one of those players that we've seen a few times this season. Eriksen really struggling out of possession, looks really leggy, looks really a lack of intensity, letting runners go off him really, really easily. So I think that is the one, Eriksen, whether Sabitzer plays there, whether Sabitzer plays and he plays at 10 and Bruno comes deeper, or whether Fred starts in that position. I think that is something we need to keep an eye on. I'm going to go through some comments now. Booklock says we might see a surprise. Fred in there instead of Eriksen. Yeah, I wouldn't be too shocked. The only thing that I'm going to say about the Fred thing is Fred hasn't started a game, guys, since the 4-1 win. Sorry, since the 1-0 win. I think it was away at Betis. So Fred hasn't started since mid-March. So that's over a month ago. And the last time Fred played 90 minutes was in February. So it's a bit strange what's happened with Fred. He started 4 of the last 13 games. So will Ten Hag want to throw Fred into this game, given that he hasn't really had a lot of match, he hasn't really gathered a lot of match rhythm. He hasn't gathered a lot of match rhythm in the last few games, in the last couple of months. So I think that's interesting. I think we've seen with Ten Hag, if you're not one of his favourite players, he does slowly sort of embed players back in, if that makes sense. Like Rashford straight back in because we really need him. Bruno straight back in. But if you think about sort of the likes of sort of Eriksen when he's come back, when players have been out this long spell out of the team, they've sort of been embedded in quite slowly, unless Ten Hag sees you as an absolutely vital player. So it'd be interesting to see what he does. But Fred's certainly an option, guys. Jose says, are you Erik Ten Hag out if De Gea is still number 1 next season? If De Gea is still number 1 next season, I'm very sceptical of that decision. I don't agree with it, but I'm not going to be Erik Ten Hag out. No, I'm just going to be I don't agree with that decision if he stays number 1. Just like I don't agree if we keep Maguire. We don't agree if we keep Fred and McTominay. I think we need to get rid of one of those players. There's Martial is not going to be our starting number 9. We've got to sort a lot of these issues out. So I'm not going to be Erik Ten Hag out, but I don't agree with that decision if he does. And that's fine. We can criticise. We can not agree with people's decisions. That's absolutely fine. But I'm not going to be Erik Ten Hag out, no, because he's won a trophy in his first season, which is a big, big plus. And he's probably going to win, get in the top 4 as well, which is good. Thina says, yes, I do expect the surprise of Fred starting. Vera says, would you start Heaton? No, I think De Gea will play. Heaton's actually a decent goalkeeper in all fairness, but I don't see De Gea not playing. I think it'd be a bit rash to throw Heaton into this. And Alimo says, our responses were very good every time we lost. Yeah, you're spot on, mate. We have recovered well to sort of defeats. And then the front 3, guys, let's go through the front 3. So obviously, it depends whether Martial's fit. I think if Martial's fit, I think this front 3, it sort of picks itself, doesn't it? Sort of Anthony, Rashford, and Martial. That sort of picks itself. But let me know, guys, what would you do up front in this game? Which front 3 would you go for? If Martial's fit, would you go for this front 3? If Martial isn't fit, would you play Rashford at striker? Would you play Sancho on the left, or would you start Weghorst at striker and play Rashford on the left? Let me know, guys, what team you go for. Alien Tenno says you can see Casemiro as centre-back. Well, Alien Tenno, there's some reports on Twitter today saying that Shaw is set to start alongside Lindelof. That's what we've seen. Some of the reports saying Shaw's going to start at centre-back alongside Lindelof. There's some of the reports that I've sort of seen on Twitter. So we'll see whether that happens. But I think Casemiro at centre-back is sort of a last resort option we have got. If we do have Man City still 0-0 after 27 minutes. Man City, very interesting. But yeah, I still think it'd be Shaw and Lindelof, to be honest with you. But please, guys, get involved in the comments. Please smash a like on the video. Let's try and hit 20 likes. Tina Kashmendra says, I miss Anthony Dallo combo. Yeah, I mean, I think we've sort of seen Ten Hag's flexibility again with Dallo playing left back, and he's done a good job there. And Ten Hag deserves some credit for that. Dallo, we know he hasn't played at left back too much this season before we had the injuries, but fair enough to Ten Hag for going for that. Vera, I don't think there's any updates on Martial, so I think this is going to be the front 3. I think Martial will probably start. You might as well start Martial. I mean, you might as well play him because, this is the last competition we're in that we can win. We might as well just go all out and try. And if he does get injured, then so be it. But he's got to play. He's got to play through these. He's just got to play because we just don't have another option that's sort of good enough at this moment in time. So I think Martial is going to have to play. So yes, guys, I want to talk a bit about the tactical side of things. So obviously we talked about this is probably going to be our team. The Eriksen one is probably the only debatable one. Maybe Fred, maybe Sabitzer there, and Bruno pushes further back, but we'll see. But I want to talk about the tactical side of this team because Brighton are a very, very interesting team. Very, very interesting. Obviously, you've probably watched Brighton this season. I imagine people have watched at least a few games of Brighton. And a lot of things that people say about Brighton are sort of, very possession-based, very controlling. They've got 2 great midfielders, McAllister and Caicedo. the way they try and sort of build up from the back is just really interesting to see. So let's just talk about the tactical side of things. So obviously, if you don't know, Brighton in recent sort of months, they've started with Jason Steele as their goalkeeper. So they have Robert Sanchez, but sort of De Zerbi has brought in Jason Steele as their starting goalkeeper because he's better with his feet, and he can pick out nicer passes. So that's why De Zerbi, when he came in, he sort of went for Jason Steele. He went for Jason Steele in goal. So what Brighton try and do, it's really, really interesting, but what Brighton try and do during build-up is create this sort of 4-2-4 structure. And it's actually, it's quite crazy. So let's actually make it a bit more realistic. So let's say Brighton are in possession, and let's move these Manchester United players up the pitch a little. Let's imagine we've got sort of Bruno, Eriksen and Casemiro here. Push Wan-Bissaka on slightly. Let's move the team up the pitch. Okay. So let's say this is just something like sort of our shape, sort of out of possession, right? So you'll see the team in blue. So Brighton's shape is very much sort of a 4-2-4. So they've got the goalkeeper, they've got their back four. So let me see if I can put some tools on this. I'm sure you can do some sort of boxes and stuff like that. I don't know whether you can. Yeah, you can draw sort of boxes on here. So let's see if this sort of works. Yeah, so you've got this sort of four you can see there. So you've got the back four there, and then you've got the two pivot players. So you've got McAllister and Caicedo, and then you've got sort of this front four then that they like to create. So you've got this then front four. So you can see there with Brighton's build-up shape, you've got a 4-2-4 shape there. You've got a 4-2-4 shape there. So very, very interesting in their sort of build-up phase. Obviously, we normally see sort of a back three, a back two. We see 2 or 3 midfielder players, and we sometimes see sort of a 2-3-5, a 3-2-5 in this sort of modern era. But De Zerbi looks for a 4-2-4. Now, what does this do? Well, if we take away these... if I take away these boxes now, that was easy enough. If I take away these boxes, let's have a look what they're trying to do. So what Brighton try and do is sort of bait pressure. They call it bait pressure. So that what they try and do is they try and get teams to press onto them so spaces open up, right? And we've seen Manchester United this season. We use something called a hybrid. We use hybrid pressing. So hybrid pressing is basically... we normally use it with our wide players. So what it means is Anthony in this scenario here. Let's see if I can draw some sort of like arrow or something like that, guys. I'm not sure whether. Oh, here we go. So you've got sort of Anthony, who has the task of pressing both centre back and full back. Okay, and you've got the same with Rashford on sort of this side. Okay, so this is the sort of task that both of our wingers have. So if the opposition goalkeeper has the ball, the task of Martial is obviously he will be sort of in this sort of area when the goalkeeper's got the ball, or Weghorst or Rashford, whoever's up front. And obviously if the ball does go here, Martial will sort of move across. Right, so the ball side got centre back, whichever centre back has the ball, Martial will sort of move across. But obviously, if you've got a goalkeeper that is very, very comfortable in possession, very, very good during build-up, what you can actually have a situation being is the goalkeeper's actually out here somewhere. Right, so if you've got a goalkeeper, basically what teams try and do is sort of outnumber the press using the goalkeeper as an extra outfield player. Right, so you then see the centre-back sort of pushing on a little bit higher. And then obviously Martial is in a bit of a different situation now. So Martial is in a situation where he has to really also think about the goalkeeper as being an outfield player as part of the build-up. So that obviously outnumbers us then. So Martial, he's going to stay in this sort of area. But again, we've got Anthony and Rashford trying to mark 2 players. And obviously that can cause us big, big problems during build-up because actually during our build-up phase, we're outnumbered here. We're outnumbered here. And what Brighton try and do is they try and sort of make you get as close to them as they can, bait pressure, and then spaces will open up. And what they have is these two brilliant midfield players, McAllister and Caicedo, right? And what they do, let's say Manchester United do sort of push Bruno Fernandes, let's say Manchester United push Bruno Fernandes a little bit higher maybe to try and counteract this superiority in the first phase here. You've got two really comfortable midfield players, McAllister and Caicedo, sort of in front of this back four who can drop into these sort of areas, or they could sort of look for passes between the lines here, and they're out then. They're out and they're causing us problems. Another thing they like to do is they like to leave this sort of front four really, really high. So they push this front four on really, really high, and they look for sort of passes between the lines. So they look for these passes between the lines, and they like to form these triangles between left centre back, left back, and one pivot player, and then the right centre back, the right back, and the other pivot player. And they like to form these triangles and find these passes between the lines to the sort of number 10, if you like, and the striker. And then also you've got obviously the wide player that can also come back to sort of form triangles there. So you've got a really, really interesting Brighton shape during build-up. They want to bait pressure. They want you to come onto them, to leave spaces in between the lines for them to pick out these lovely passes. And they've got centre-backs in Webster, Dunk, Colwill, who are really, really good on the ball. They've got Estupinian and Gross, who are also very comfortable. And the two midfield players, McAllister and Caicedo, we obviously know Man United have been linked to those two midfield players, right? We know they're really, really good during it's sort of in the build-up phase, that they're comfortable. I think Caicedo is probably more suited to what Man United would need, but they're both comfortable sort of under pressure. And then you've obviously got this four they form in between the lines. We know we've got sort of Welbeck and Ciso. They've got Mitoma. Obviously, we know his threats, and they've got Solly March as well. So, yes, guys, that's sort of the tactical side of things when Brighton are building up. I think it's going to be interesting to see what Man United do. If I take away the sort of arrows for a minute so it's a little bit clearer, it's going to be interesting to see what Manchester United do, because if you actually think about Manchester United, again, away at Seville, away at Newcastle, away at Liverpool, our approach in all these games out of possession got absolutely murdered, right? I'm going to read out some comments in a minute, guys, but if you remember away at Liverpool in the second half, away at Newcastle, away at Seville, we were sort of half pressing, half-arse pressing, not fully engaged. We weren't compact. And if you're not compact in your press against this Brighton team, they are going to open through. They're going to open you up so easily. So it's going to be interesting to see what Manchester United do, whether we do press high and we're really, really brave, or whether we do sit in sort of a more compact mid-block sort of shape and just let Brighton build up freely and forget about sort of pressing them in the first phase and sort of let them build up, let them get into this sort of area here. So if we push our defense back slightly, so let's say we let them build up reasonably freely, and we just sit back a little bit deeper in sort of this sort of shape. And obviously they'll push forward. Right, and if we let them do something like this, guys, obviously it's very, very hypothetical. The players are not going to be exactly where I'm putting them, but something like this. If we let them do something of this sort of shape here, we are not actually wanting to engage in these sorts of areas. We're going to engage in these sorts of areas, right? So we're going to engage in these sorts of areas, because I think if we engage in these sort of areas when Brighton are in possession, I think we're going to get played around too easily, and we haven't got aggressive, not really. Lindelof, I think he's been more aggressive recently, but we haven't got aggressive sort of defenders in the channels and things like that to really cope with Brighton's threat when they do open us up. So I don't think we'll want to leave, other than Wan-Bissaka, who are uncomfortable one-on-one, I don't think we'll want to leave our defenders in too much space trying to defend against Welbeck, sort of March, Mitoma, and Gross, etc. So I think we will sit in sort of more of a mid-block type shape, invite Brighton onto us, and we can use our threat. We know sort of in transition, we've got the threat of Rashford. We know Anthony's becoming a little bit more direct with his play. We've got Martial to hold the ball up for us and bring other players into play and move up the pitch. So yes, guys, I'm going to read out some comments now. Yeah, still 0-0. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Tina says, I would start Wout instead of Martial. you bring Martial on in the second half. He will benefit the team for pressing. Yeah, he will benefit the team for pressing. You are right, but I think Martial, for me, I respect your opinion. I mean, if Martial isn't fully fit, then yes, but I think Martial for me is probably going to play, but we don't know about his full fitness yet. It's still 0-0 in the Man City game. Yeah, they played 39 minutes now. Man City 0-0, and Sheffield United are doing a decent job, by the way. Sheffield United, that Man City have had a few chances, but Sheffield United are hanging on in there. Fair play to them. The Man City are probably going to win eventually, obviously, but they've nearly got. If they can get to halftime 0-0, look, that's a top job. I wish we could have got to 0-0 against Man City halftime when we played them at their ground. Joseph says not because he's better. Well, I've seen De Zerbi. I've seen a lot of talk about De Zerbi with his better, Steele better with his feet. But interesting, I heard they changed the keeper because Steele is left-footed in another way. Interesting. I've read a lot about De Zerbi and people saying that Steele is more comfortable with those sort of passes in between the lines. But interesting. E. Bruce says, I wonder if Shaw is fit enough. I hope so, mate. I really, really hope so. Some reports I've read. Oh, it's blocked. Wow. Oh, dear. Man City penalty. Man City have got a penalty, guys. Yeah, really unfortunate for Sheffield United. But yeah, I think lots of reports that I've read say that Shaw is going to start with Lindelof. So that's apparently whether he's fully fit. I think we just have to play him and hope, to be honest with you. Midfield, Alien Tenno. Yeah, I think midfield's a big problem. That's why I thought about, will Fred start? Will Eriksen start? With Caicedo and McAllister in midfield, they've got a brilliant pivot there. Wan-Bissaka against Mitoma, yeah, that's going to be interesting. Vera says, if we are able to get through this, we can win the FA Cup. Wow. I mean, I hope so, but it's going to be a tough job, It's going to be a tough job. It's in God's hands. 100% faith. Yeah, definitely. We need to move the ball forward. Yeah, we need to be quite direct, I think, tomorrow. I think Rashford, hopefully, will be fit and raring to go. I think Bruno back in the team as well. Hopefully, we can be more direct tomorrow. Because I think against Seville, we were really, really poor with our attacking play, to be honest with you. I'd love to see us go through, but I'm feeling Brighton will be too much. I think Brighton are obviously a great team, but they're probably going to dominate possession territory. But look, we've got goal scorers in our team, and goals change games. If we can get an early goal in this game and we can sit back, be compact and play on the counter, you never know. Sheffield are second in the Championship. Yeah, they're doing well. Big up Sani, mate. I hope you're well. Alien Tenno, we have to hold the back four. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Thena says penalty. Yeah, Man City got a penalty. But please do smash a like on the video, guys, if you're enjoying right now. We've got sort of 11 people watching right now. 6 likes. Come on, guys. Let's try and hit 20 likes. If everyone likes the video who's watching right now, let's try and get to 20 likes. Let's try and build the channel. Here's Mahrez. It's a goal for Man City. 1-0 to Man City in the semi-final. Mahrez has scored. And that's the end of it. But yes, guys, please do smash a like on the video. I think that might be the end of this game, to be honest with you. But yeah, that is a little bit of a talk about Brighton's build-up for tomorrow's game. And I think we need to be very, very careful whether we press high and whether we press in a compact shape. Because against Newcastle away, we completely pressed in the wrong way. We kept leaving that passing opportunity out for Kieran Trippier. Every single time Kieran Trippier had an easy pass on and it wasn't good enough. So we've got to be better in this game. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen, guys, because I want to come back to full screen and actually look at the chat properly. Alien Tenno says City are on for the treble. Look, City are on for the treble, but we've got to try and stop them somehow in the FA Cup. So let's try and beat them in the FA Cup. But yeah, regarding our build-up shape and things like that, guys, I think with Luke Shaw back in the team, I think that will help us a lot. I think Eriksen back in will help us slightly as well. And yeah, Dalot as well in build-up against Nottingham Forest was really, really good. So I think I haven't really looked into Brighton's pressing too much. But I know Brighton are very, very aggressive with their pressing. But I haven't looked into Brighton's pressing all that much, to be totally truthful with you. I've done a lot of reading about Brighton's build-up, but I know Brighton press really, really high. But I could do a little piece on our build-up, yes. Let me talk about our build-up now. So yeah, our build-up then. I'm just going to focus on from our side because I don't want to talk about things I don't know about. So I haven't really looked enough into Man City's pressing to be able to, not Man City, I keep saying Man City, Brighton's pressing to talk about it too much. But this is us in build-up, guys. We've obviously got David De Gea in goal. What do I expect us to do? I expect us to do something well, obviously, when you do build up, and we've seen a lot of times this season with Manchester United, with our build-up play, we have sort of transitioned a lot of times between different shapes. Oh, I've just seen. Has anyone seen that Man City penalty, by the way, guys? I've just seen this Man City penalty, and it looks like he actually got the ball, the Sheffield United defender. It actually looks like he got the ball. He didn't actually catch Bernardo Silva. But I don't know whether anyone else has seen that Man City penalty that they gave, but it actually looks like it wasn't a penalty. It looks like he got the ball. But I don't know. Very, very interesting. But back to Man United. Sorry about that. Back to Man United. So we've seen Manchester United sort of transition between different shapes in build-up. But what I do expect us to do tomorrow is use Diogo Dalot slightly more inverted in certain areas, as well as Wan-Bissaka. We've seen this quite a few times this season. We saw it against Forest. Not in this sort of first phase, but when we get into this sort of area, the middle third of the pitch, we see Wan-Bissaka in these sort of areas, sort of much more inverted. And we see the same with Diogo Dalot as well. So in our actual build-up shape, I expect Eriksen to probably be the one, or Casemiro to be the one to sort of drop in slightly deeper. And then if we do sort of get to this sort of area of the pitch here, we can obviously use the likes of Wan-Bissaka and Dalot slightly more inverted in these sort of areas. But I think it's going to be the same as what we've seen before. Sort of often a sort of a 3-2 shape. One of the fullbacks maybe pushing on slightly, and then we get sort of Lindelof, Shaw, and sort of Dalot, something like this with sort of Casemiro and Eriksen in front. So we see this quite a lot. Obviously, you can also do this as well. So if you want Shaw maybe as the outside centre-back, because when Shaw's the outside centre-back, he's got a few more of these passing sort of options in these sort of areas here. So that's maybe what we'll try and do. Use Shaw as the outside centre-back. Obviously, he's played as a left centre-back in a back three before for England, for Man United. So we know Shaw's really, really nice in these areas with his progressive passing. So maybe that's something we'll do. And we'll move Wan-Bissaka slightly more in sort of a deeper area. We can even sort of push sort of Eriksen on. We can drop Dalot alongside Casemiro. We've got loads of different options, guys. Loads of different options. As I said, again, I haven't looked into Brighton's pressing structure too much, but I know Brighton's pressing structure I know they press very, very high. I just don't know their pressing shape, to be honest with you, because I haven't looked into it too much. But all I know is Manchester United have got to be very, very, very adept in our build-up, right? Will we play long? Will we try and play through the press? I'm not so sure. We've seen a lot of times this season we just play long and sort of evade the press. We've seen with Harry Maguire and David De Gea the other day the issues that we can have in our build-up, making poor passes, playing it to players who shouldn't be played to under pressure. We obviously haven't got Maguire in this game, but we've still got players who are not incredibly comfortable. If you look at that back three there, Shaw is probably the only one that's really comfortable under pressure. I think Casemiro, Eriksen at times, Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka's quite good with his body feints under pressure. He sort of drives away from players. He's quite good at that. But I think probably the best of them all is probably Shaw, right, guys? So I think that's something we might see Luke Shaw being really, really important for us in our build-up tomorrow. But I'm just not sure how Ten Hag's going to approach it from their build-up side of things. I think we'll definitely sit off in more of a compact mid-block type of shape. I don't think we're going to press them high. If we press them high, it's a very, very dangerous game. I don't think we're going to do that. I don't think we're going to engage in their box. But listen, it's Ten Hag. He might come up with an interesting plan. He might even start Weghorst to try and disrupt Brighton's pressing sort of in sort of their deeper areas. Can we use Weghorst to do that? I'm not sure. But in terms of our build-up, I know Ten Hag wants to try and play through the thirds, but we may just have to try and go long where we can. Rashford up against Pascal Gross. If we go long, we'll probably win quite a lot of those duels maybe. We've seen a lot of times this season when we do kick long, we kick long into this sort of channel here, where we've got sort of Rashford up against sort of not a weaker player, but Rashford's really improved this season with his upper body strength. He's not brilliant in the air, but he's certainly improved in the air, Rashford. And I think up against Pascal Gross, who I think will be playing right back, that could be sort of an area we could get joy, even if he doesn't win the header. Gross, he's going to cause him problems. He might let it go out for a throw. He might push up the pitch. Gross might win the header, but he might not win it and clear it far enough, and we can gamble on second balls and things like that. So that could be an area of exploitation that we could use. But yes, guys, I think we'll do what we normally do. I think we'll probably use a mix of building up from the back and playing it longer, to be honest with you, because long term, sort of in a game long term, we can't keep playing out from the back with the profiles we've got, right? And we don't have sort of we don't have enough physicality at the top end of the pitch to keep playing it long every time. So I think we will sort of alternate in that way. But I'm going to read out a few comments. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can see the comments again. Let's go through. Yeah, I mean, I've looked at that penalty. I don't know whether anyone else has looked at that penalty, but I've looked at that penalty for Man City a few times, and it looks like he gets the ball. But maybe I'm wrong. It does look like he gets the ball. Yeah, I think in this game, Kashmendra, I think we'll probably use a mixture, like we usually do. Really, we do use a mixture. Maybe in this game, the first few minutes, just go long for the first few minutes. Don't give anything silly away, because against this Brighton team, if you give them any incentive, any sort of anything to get the fans up, anything to get the players up, give them more confidence, we're going to be in big trouble, because we've seen with Man United in our sort of build-up shape, we can be very, very unreliable. We can be very, very shaky, and we don't want to give the opposition an advantage early in the first few minutes and give them some hope that they can cause us problems, right? Just like against Seville. If we don't make that concede that early goal and make that mistake in the first few minutes against Sevilla, you just never know what's going to happen. We might have gone on to win that game. We might have gone on to lose it still. We might have gone on to go to extra time. You just don't know. Goals change games. And if you concede a goal through your own error in the first few minutes, it unsettles the whole team. So will Erik ten Hag just say to his team, okay, the first 10 minutes, David, Luke Shaw, Victor Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka Dalot, if you get the ball in sort of a deep area, let's just play it long. Let's push up the pitch. Let's sort of capitalise on second balls, sort of knockdowns in Brighton's half. Let's make it more of a physical game the first 10 minutes or so and see how we go. That may be the best approach. If we do try and play out from the back and play through Brighton, we're going to have to be very, very comfortable, and we're going to have to get it right so often to get through this Brighton team. I agree. We really need us to score first tomorrow. We have to score first. Honestly, if Brighton score in the early parts of the game, I'm gonna be at Wembley watching it, but I'm gonna be sat there with sort of my t-shirt over my head like this. I don't even want to look. I won't even want to look, because if Brighton get an early goal, I do worry. Can we play Butland in goal? I just don't see it happening, really. Big up, Monish. Thanks a lot for joining, mate. Please, guys, smash a like on the video right now. There's 10 people watching right now, guys. Please do smash a like on the video. Let's try and get to 20 likes. Please do subscribe if you're new. I really appreciate it, guys. They're just going through the penalty again here for Man City. They're showing the replay again. Doesn't look like a penalty to me. Mate, I just wanted to ask, why is Jordan Pickford not one of them? To be honest with you, mate, I don't think Jordan Pickford is good enough to be our number one. I think he's still very, very rash with his decision-making. I think his long distribution is pretty good, but I don't think he's a good enough goalkeeper for his long term, to be honest with you. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I think even if you don't win the duel, as I said, Rashford can use his taller frame to try and get us some sort of joy on that side. We've also got Dalot as left back, so we could push Dalot. Well, if Dalot starts, I expect Dalot to start at left back. We can also push Dalot higher, and we could try and get some joy there as well. You just got to try and get in football. It's all about these marginal gains. It's these little moments that make the difference. And if we can get these marginal gains over Brighton early on in the game, build our confidence, sort of reduce their confidence, then you just never know. You never know. Connor says Man United to win. I hope so, mate. Thanks a lot for coming along. That's something we might do. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, Wembley. With the famous Man United, and we go to Wembley. Definitely. Hopefully we can go again after tomorrow. Hopefully we've got another trip to Wembley for the final. Ibra says, hope we can play some good attacking football. I hope so. Honestly, Bruce, I think tomorrow is not going to be a game where you're going to see Manchester United play fantastically well. I think tomorrow is going to be a game where you see Manchester United need to be efficient and effective, to be honest with you. I don't think tomorrow is going to be a game where you're going to see Man United dominate the ball, create loads of chances. I don't see that happening. I see Man United, maybe I'm wrong, everyone can be wrong, but I see Man United sitting in a more compact shape, trying to stay in the game, trying to nick little moments where we can. I know this sounds ridiculous. We shouldn't be doing this against Brighton, with all due respect to Brighton. We should be going out there and smashing them. But at the moment, with the lack of confidence, with the injuries we've got as well, even with Martinez and Varane, it still would have been a tough game, right? But I think without Martinez, particularly without Martinez, building up from the back is going to be hard. It's going to be hard to sort of gain any dominance in the game unless Brighton's pressing shape is completely off. It's going to be quite tough. But all I really care about tomorrow is the result, honestly. I'd love to see some attacking football, but all I care about is the result. I really don't care how we win tomorrow. I just really want to win. I want to get to the FA Cup final. I really do. Monish says also about Lindelof, I think we should not offload him. Underrated. Yeah, I think Lindelof should stay ahead of Maguire for sure. It's just whether Lindelof is happy to be that backup player, right? Because we've seen a lot of reports in the media that Man United, obviously, if we sell Maguire, we're going to go and recruit a new centre-back. So that new centre-back that comes in, is it going to make Lindelof become fourth choice, if you see what I'm saying? So obviously, Rafael Varane's so injury-prone that Martinez, obviously, he's had that awful injury, but Martinez is basically fit all the time, apart from, obviously, that horrendous injury that's just a one-off. But Martinez is always going to be fit, really. So that left centre-back position, you don't need to worry about that as much. I think right centre-back without with Varane there, he gets injured so often. We definitely need a sort of player that's good enough to come in and play alongside Martinez. Is Lindelof good enough to come in and replace Varane game by game all the time? That's the question that Ten Hag's got to ask. And if he isn't, I think the player that replaces Maguire will probably become third choice centre-back or even second to compete with Varane. And then obviously Lindelof is the choice after that. But we'll see. Very interesting debate, to be honest with you. Veraz says, any news on Varane? No new news on Varane. I think he's still out for about 12 more days. So I think 12 more days, sort of 2 more weeks, I think Varane is out. And I think he'll be back for the... what day is it today? It's the 22nd. So he'll be back for around the 7th of May, 5th of May, that sort of weekend, something around there. Hopefully he'll be back soon. Alien Tenor says, maybe we'll stop a team winning the treble again. I was there in 77. Wow, that must have been something. I mean, I just hope we can. I really do. I'd love to win this cup, as well as obviously we've got the Carabao Cup already. Hopefully we can use our Wembley luck, our Wembley fortunes again. As I said at the start of the show, guys, Brighton have never, unless somebody's told me a false stat, I read a stat earlier, Brighton have never, ever won at Wembley. They played 5 games at Wembley. They've drawn 1. I imagine that's in normal time. They might have gone on to win it in extra time or penalties, but apparently Brighton have drawn 1 and lost 4 games at Wembley. The 5 games they played there. So I know this is a different team, different players, but interesting stats. Ibra says, I'm going in tomorrow with low confidence and expectations, but hoping to come out with satisfaction and joy. Yeah, for sure, mate, for sure. That Newcastle game we played against Newcastle at Wembley, obviously the Carabao Cup final. Obviously, we didn't play particularly well in that game in terms of domination, possession-based football. We didn't dominate the game. But in that game against Newcastle, we showed a really resolute nature. Even De Gea, although I don't think he should be our goalkeeper in the future, De Gea made some really good saves. Varane and Martinez were brilliant. Casemiro was absolutely brilliant. So against Newcastle, we didn't play that well in the final, but we sort of grafted out a win. We got our couple of goals and we grafted out a win. Tomorrow, I just hope we can do the same, to be honest with you. I hope we can do the same. Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, Smalling for me was always a decent player. But yeah, Maguire for 80 is obviously awful business, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think Kim Min Jae Napoli is definitely a target. I think also, what's his name? There's that player. Oh yeah, Undika. I think his name is at Frankfurt on a free. He's available on a free this summer. Undika at Frankfurt. You've obviously got Gvardiol as well. I think he's going to Chelsea. I can't remember whether they finalised that, but he's obviously a great young centre back. And there's also a centre back at Nice called Todibo. If you have, I don't know whether you guys have heard of Todibo, but I think it's Jean-Claire Todibo. But he looks a really good player as well. To me, Todibo, French centre back, very good on the ball, nice and physical, nice and aggressive off the ball. So look, we've got some options. We've got some options for that centre back position. We've also got Timber, obviously, as well, that we could go for, but I'm not too sure about this Timber deal at the moment, with Martinez in the centre back position as well. Timber and Martinez. I know aerial jaws and aerial prowess isn't everything you need as a centre back, but Timber and Martinez as a back two. I'm not fully sold on that, to be honest with you. I'm not fully sure on that yet. So we've obviously got Timber. It's definitely an option, but I'm not too keen on bringing Timber in as a centre back up against a lot of physical strikers in the Premier League. I think it could cause one or two problems long term, to be honest with you. But we'll see. We will see. Score predictions, guys. Get your score predictions in below. Ibra says, I think Arsenal. Yeah, that I can see that happening, to be honest with you. They've got, obviously, Arsenal need a centre back as well, really, with a lot of their fans don't like Rob Holding at the moment. Rob Holding's come under a lot of criticism of late when Saliba's been injured. They'll definitely want a centre back to come in as a backup to Gabriel and Saliba. Obviously, they've got Ben White, but he plays at right back. But yeah, very interesting, guys. Get your predictions in below, guys, for the game tomorrow. Honestly, I really don't know. I said yesterday 3-2 to Man United, but that's with a really hoping heart. That's really with sort of my Man United hearts, really speaking through there. 3-2 United. I wouldn't be surprised if Brighton won this game at all. My sort of heart says 3-2 United. My head says 4-1, 4-2 Brighton, but my head is different than my heart. But my heart says Man United to win, but my head doesn't. So yes. 2-1 United, says Alien Tenor. Reality says 3-0. Money says there's a personality which is missing. Yeah, there are some personalities missing. I think I'd expect us to have a bit more personality with Casemiro, Varane, Martinez. We've lost big games even with our best players this season. And that's why I'm a bit disappointed. Bruno Fernandes is obviously an important player for us. But when Bruno Fernandes doesn't play, obviously people say, it's because Bruno didn't play. But okay, that could be part of it. But even with Bruno in the team, we've lost really poorly this season. That's why I say to people, it's more than an individual issue. I think it's actually a collective issue. Even when we're missing one player or two players, you've got to have the sort of collective around the squad to boost the squad up and say, we're missing one or two players. We're missing one or two players here. Okay, we should have enough in our squad at Manchester United to cover for those absentees. Yeah, to cover for those sort of absent players. But we just don't seem to have that. Vera says 2-1 tight win. Interesting. 2-0 to us. 3-3 are penalties. Let me tell you something. If this game goes to penalties, I really don't fancy us to win, because I think we've lost every penalty shootout we've had recently. I think we lost on penalties to, was it Middlesbrough at home in the cup last season? I think, and then we had Villarreal under Ollie, and we had another game as well, I'm sure, that we got knocked out of the cup on penalties. But I just can't take penalties, especially with De Gea in goal. He's not going to save any penalties, man. I hope this doesn't come back to bite me, but I just don't fancy us with a goalie we've got on penalties as well. He's just not dominant, not aggressive enough, not not big enough to save these big shots that we need him to save. David De Gea has made a lot of good saves this season, but he's just letting a lot of silly errors in as well, a lot of silly shots in. It's just not good enough. Same with the outfield players. We've got strikers missing easy chances, attacking players not impacting the game. We've got to be more, as somebody else said about the leadership, we need silent leaders on the pitch as well. We need silent leadership. We need players to sort of lead by example. And I don't think we've got that, to be honest with you. I heard in Patrice Evra's interview with Ria that the lack of personality in the dressing room is a reason behind our poor away form. Maybe so. I just don't get how. I just don't get. We went to Barcelona and we got 2-2 draw there, and we were the better team at Barcelona. How can we? Why is it different in the league? We went to Betis and won. We went to Real Sociedad and won. We went to who did we? I think all of our cup games have been at home actually. Away at Nottingham Forest in the cup. That's not an easy game in a semi-final. Away at Nottingham Forest, they would have been right up for that, and we went there and won. But in the league, away from home in these big grounds, we seem to not be able to cope for some reason. But we've done it in the Europa League. We've obviously done it in one of the cups as well. And then in the league, away at Brentford, away at Aston Villa, away at Newcastle, we just can't seem to. We can't seem to be able to sort of get through these games, and we can't even put a fight up. Away at Brentford, away at Newcastle, away at Liverpool, away at Man City was a little bit better, but still poor. A lot of these games away from home, we haven't even put some fight into the game, and that's really what's disappointing, I think, with Manchester United. And that's why tomorrow, I can accept losing tomorrow. If we lose tomorrow and we come off that pitch and we say, okay, Brighton, absolutely brilliant. We got outclassed on the day. We lost 2-1, or we lost 2-0, whatever it might be. Obviously, not acceptable that we lost, but the way we played, we actually took the game to Brighton. We tried our best. We put in a proper effort, and we can actually say, Brighton deserved to win, but at least we put in everything. But in a lot of these games this season, we can't say that. So let's hope it changes. Yeah, I can't see. I really don't want to see that. I don't want to see that. It's just not good enough. Not good enough. Yeah, for sure. Oh wow. You must have seen some interesting times, man. Really, really interesting times. Some amazing experiences in the past. Let's hope we can make some more tomorrow. Yeah, Leacher, really, really gutted about that for sure. Mike Maignan is really, really good. Mike Maignan, the keeper from AC Milan. It's not just his quality and his footballing ability, but also Mike Maignan against the in terms of his. I don't know whether you guys watched his performance against Napoli the other day in the Champions League, but his aura, he's got a real aura about him, Mike Maignan. He's got some sort of real drive, personality, and leadership about him, and that's what I really, really like about Maignan. So. Look, I'd love Mike Maignan, but he's not. He's just probably not going to sign. That's the unfortunate thing. Man City are in here. I know they've gone back. But yeah, Mike Maignan, he's a top goalkeeper. But again, will he come to Manchester United? I'm not so sure. I don't think it's really a realistic deal, to be truthful with you. So yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. But he's a top goalkeeper. Bruno, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the captain situation, to be honest with you. I'm really, really interested to see what's going to happen. I think Bruno will probably get it, to be honest with you, but we'll see. Yeah, I'd like I wouldn't mind it being Martinez as well, to be honest with you. I think Martinez, for me, is our most, I'd say is our most reliable player, our most consistent player in overall performance across the season. I think he's been our most consistent player, to be honest with you. So I know Bruno as well has done well, but I think Martinez is probably our most consistent player in terms of overall performance. I think he really, really is. Yeah, I think McTominay, Monish, to be honest with you, I think McTominay has thrived this season when he's played as an 8, as a sort of in a higher 8 position. But the issue with sort of McTominay is that we've already got players who can excel in those sort of higher 8 positions. We've got Eriksen, we've got Bruno, even Sabitzer we've seen do well there against Sevilla. the issue is we haven't got a plethora of players on the defensive side of things in our own area when we're trying to build up under pressure. That's when we need sort of a different sort of profile than McTominay. So I think McTominay will go on, if he leaves in the summer, he'll go on to have a good career at a mid-table Premier League club. Fantastic for him. But I think for Manchester United, I don't think he's quite the answer, to be honest with you. I think we've already got enough players in that 8-10 position, to be honest with you. But yeah, McTominay, look, I think he'll go on to have a good career wherever he goes. Yeah, for sure. I think Varane and Martinez have been big losses. That's why I said tomorrow, if we went to the game tomorrow with those two, we could still lose. But even if we had those two in the team, Varane and Martinez, it obviously gives us more of a chance. We get more of a chance of winning the game. We've got more of a chance of sort of defending transitions. I think we've got more of a chance of building up from the back. I think we've got more of a chance of getting into Brighton's half and controlling the game better. I think without those two, particularly Martinez, I think Martinez is the bigger miss for us, especially on the ball. I think he's a big miss, unfortunately. Yep, I agree, mate. Yep, we have to get top four. I agree with you. Big up, Adrian. I'm okay, mate. I hope you're well. Ibra says top four on 2 or 1 trophy. Yeah, is all I'm asking for. Look, if we get top 4 from now on this season, and we've won the Carabao Cup, honestly, that's still a good season. But it will be disappointing if tomorrow we lose. It will feel disappointing because we were in 3 competitions. We were in the league. Obviously, we've won the Carabao Cup. We're in the league in terms of getting into 3rd place. We can still do that. But we had the chance of winning 2 trophies, 2 extra trophies on top of the Carabao Cup. If by this time tomorrow, it will be, what will it be? It'll be, the game will nearly be done, won't it? I suppose an extra 20, 30 minutes or so. But by this time tomorrow, plus an extra half an hour, we'll know our fate probably. We'll know whether we're in the sort of FA Cup final or not. So I think by this time tomorrow, if we sort of really think about this season, we'll probably think, in 3 days, in the space of 3 or 4 days, we've been knocked out 2 competitions. That will feel disappointing. But in reality, we've still won the Carabao Cup. We're still in a good position in the league. I think as long as we end up finishing in the top 4 as well as winning the Carabao Cup, that's still a successful season. But it's probably not as successful as maybe we thought about a month ago or so ago. If you see where I'm coming from, yes. If you see where I'm coming from, sort of like a month or so ago, we probably expected Manchester United to go further in the Europa League with the type of teams that sort of are left in the competition. Yeah, so yeah, I do agree with you. Poor Donny. Yeah, I feel bad for Donny, but look, we've got to sort of get rid of players now that are not going to be wanted anymore. You know, Sancho's got a big few weeks coming up. We've just got to be ruthless, I think, and I hope Ten Hag is. Yep. Good point. This about Ashley Young. Ashley Young's still performing well for Villa. You know, he's still doing well, mentality-wise, sort of personality-wise as well. Ashley Young is a top professional. He's good on set pieces. He's just a solid player. You know what you're going to get from Ashley Young. You know, he's a decent defender. On the ball, he's got a good strike on him. His passing's pretty decent. He's got a decent cross on him. You know, he's okay, Ashley Young. And, you know, maybe we miss personalities like that in sort of the dressing room. Fully agree, Ellie and Tenno. Fully agree, Booklook as well. What do you think about Elanga starting tomorrow? Thena says, well, to be honest with you, put it this way. If Elanga started instead of Sancho, I would not complain. Why would I not complain? Because from what we've seen this season from Elanga, he hasn't really given a lot. Okay, at home to Liverpool, he played well. I can't actually remember any of the games he played. I think he came off the bench against Sevilla at home when Sancho went off. But Elanga hasn't really played much. Sancho has had some good moments this season. He's played well in some games. He scored a few goals. But to be honest with you, Elanga would give you a bit more intensity. He would probably track back better. So I wouldn't really be... If Martial can't play, I wouldn't be against the idea. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Adrian says Ashley Old. Yeah, Ashley Old now. Ashley Old, not Ashley Young, but he's still a good player, to be fair to him. Ibra says, would you take Kuchku or Lefay? Again, I've seen Lefay is the one I've seen more of. Lefay is, I'm still not fully sold on Lefay. He gives the ball away quite a lot. And if you want him to come in and play sort of in deeper areas, Haaland nearly scored there. Goodness me. Haaland nearly scored there for Man City. He's still 1-0 after 55 minutes. But yeah, Enzo Lefay, I've seen bits and bobs of him. I've watched about 6 or 7 games now of him, but I think he still gives sort of the ball away a little bit too often for me. And if he's going to play in deeper areas in our own box, in that sort of area, it could be a problem. But he's a good player, don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but I'm not fully sold on him, to be honest with you. And then Kuchku, I haven't seen enough of him. I've only watched clips here and there. I know there's a few people I know on Twitter who are quite fond of Kuchku, but I haven't seen enough of him to comment. I like Kakare at Lyon. I like Benacer at AC Milan. I like Lavia at Southampton. I like Ugarte at Sporting. They're the players that I've seen more games of that I like. But they're two good players from what I've heard and what I've seen of Lefay in particular. I've seen more of him. Kuchku, I haven't seen enough of him. But people I know who have got good football knowledge say he's a good player. Yeah, Daily Blin. Demis Pogba, no, not really. As Aileen Tenner said, injured too often. There was just too much talk, too many things going on off the field. As a player, Paul Pogba, we know his quality, but it's as Vera says, we need to move on. I fully agree with you there, mate. And Ibra says, respect to Sheffield United, they're holding their ground. Yeah, let me tell you something. Sheffield United in this game have defended really, really well. They defended really, really well, and it's not been like Man City sort of have been peppering their goal again and again and again. To be fair to them, Sheffield United, they've actually done well to sort of limit Man City to as much as they can. Like Man City, by the way, guys, Man City have only got an expected goals of 1.13 in this game. Man City have got a 1.13 expected goals, and they've also had a penalty. So a penalty gets you like around 0.6, I think about 0.7 expected goals or more than that. So Man City have actually not created that many chances in this game. So fair play to Sheffield United, fair play. They've only had one shot on target other than the penalty, Man City. So fair enough to Sheffield United, Ali says, do you think Ahmad would fit in next season as an 8 or right winger? Yeah, I think Ahmad for me is a top player. I've said this before. I don't give this treatment to many players, but this guy is a world-class talent. He is a world-class talent. And I don't say that about many players at all. This guy is special. His manipulation of the ball in tight spaces, his decision-making in the final third, his weight of pass, his dribbling in tight spaces, his finishing as well has improved a lot this season. He's becoming more of a deadly player. He used to be quite a tricky player, little tricks here and there, but he didn't used to have that sort of final product. I think Tony Mowbray, the manager of Sunderland, talked about this, but he's really improved on that this season, Ahmad. He's really, really improved in that regard. So, yeah, I would definitely bring him back next season, and he would be in my squad for sure. Obviously, the issue you've got is Anthony is probably never going to get replaced. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying because he's Ten Hag's player, Anthony is always going to play on that right-hand side. So we've obviously got a bit of a problem in that. What do you do with Amad Diallo? Honestly, I think from what I've seen of him, he looks best from the right, cutting in on his left foot in those sort of half space areas, sort of cutting inside. Could he play as a number 10? As a number 8, I think we would have to play in a different way for that to suit him. And I think we've already obviously got Bruno Fernandes and Eriksen to operate in those areas. I just don't think it's something that we'll see with the current squad we've got. But when we become a better team in terms of our possession, when we try and keep more possession, when we become a more possession dominant team, when we start to dominate games more with the right profiles, I think Ahmad could fit in somewhere like that. But for me, I think we have got the issue with Anthony. And what we do with Ahmad with Anthony, I think Sancho at the moment is right down the pecking order when everybody's fit, even with Garnacho fit. I think Garnacho has shown more this season than Sancho's shown, if you see where I'm coming from. So I think Sancho's got a lot of work to do, but I think Amad is that good. Yeah, for sure. Look, we've seen Man City are in 2-0 Man City. Riyad Mahrez has just scored 2-0 Man City. So we or Brighton will play Manchester City in the FA Cup final. No surprises there. Burnley of sort of companies adopted some of sort of possessional play values and facets in Burnley's game. So Burnley play some excellent football. They use inverted fullbacks. They look for sort of overloads in central areas, and Burnley have adopted some positional play, some sort of facets of the game we see Arteta, Ten Hag, Guardiola using. So it's really, really interesting. I do, Ali. I think Amad, will he go out on another loan next season if we don't think he's quite ready? Possibly, but I think he's ready now to really impact games and to be a great player for us. As I said, the only issue I've got is where you put him in the team, because we've got Rashford will always play. He'll always play, whether it's a striker or on the left. Anthony will always play on the right. You've got Bruno will always play at 10. So where are you going to fit Amad in? And he needs game time at the younger age that he's at. He needs game time. So that factor, not because he's not good enough, but maybe because we're not going to be able to promise him enough minutes next season. Maybe that's why he goes out on loan again to a Premier League side. Yeah, they are definitely going to the final. Ibra says, I give Sancho one more career-defining season to send him on loan or help build his confidence. Sancho's a tough one. I've said, I think Ten Hag is probably starting to get a little bit fed up. And I think a lot of the fans are as well. And I'm a great fan of Sancho, but I'm starting to worry now. To be honest, a few months ago, a couple of months or so ago, I was sat here saying, I think Sancho, he can still, and I still think he has the ability and the quality to impact games and be a good player for us. But I'm not seeing enough from his mentality side of things, his work rate side of things, to be honest with you. I'm really worried about him now. So maybe a loan will help, or maybe just a full sale. Maybe we just cut him off our books and just, we say goodbye. But it'd be really, really sad to see a talent like that go to waste. But let's see what happens, man. Let's see what happens. Bookluck says, get Amad in preseason. Yeah, definitely. I definitely would like to see that. My neighbour is singing Blue Moon. Oh, dear. I can't stand these Man City chants as well. Some of their chants are terrible. All their chants are terrible. They only sing one or two chants. They never ever make any noise. Like it's terrible. They don't even celebrate goals. I watch it. They go like this when they're in the stadium. Like they don't even. When a goal scored at Old Trafford, everybody bursts up and it's an amazing atmosphere. But it's just dreadful, Man City. There's so many empty seats here as well at this game. So many empty seats around. I mean, why would you really want to go and watch this anyway? If it's Man City against Sheffield, just not on par with Manchester United. I mean, I was looking at the ticket prices for the game. You could get a Man City ticket for £90 for this semi-final. The cheapest Man United ticket was £300. A difference of £200 or more. So it just shows you the difference in the two clubs. As a club, I don't think Man City will ever be regarded as having the same stature as Man United for the next decades. Maybe in the future, if we really don't start sorting ourselves out, maybe. But for the next couple of decades, you just can't compare Manchester City and Man United as clubs. I'm sorry, but you just can't. Although they've had more success as a team, as a club, no comparison for me. I think Liverpool fans, I think Arsenal fans, I think Chelsea fans would all agree. I think they all agree with us on that. Sorry about that. I diverged a bit away from the question. So Højlund is a really good striker. Yeah, he's a good talent. Kane or Osimhen, Thuram. Yeah, Thuram's good. He's on a free, isn't he, this summer? Honestly, I like Gonçalo Ramos. I think he would complement our team the best. I think Osimhen, I think him and Rashford could clash, but we'll see. I don't think we should sign Kane. He wouldn't be my first choice. Look, he's a great player, but I don't think we should probably go for him. Even Ferguson at Brighton is a great option. He's actually injured for the game tomorrow, which is a positive for us. Alien Tennis says 120 plus for Bellingham. Yep, definitely not worth that at all. I agree with you. Oh, it's 3-0. It's 3-0. This could be about 5 or 6. It's 3-0 to Man City now. Sancho is just applying himself in the game. He's not applying himself yet. We can mock passion and desire, but you need to do it with a mix of ability. Yep, I agree with you there. Yes, I mean, we have seen, without Casemiro in the team, we have seen different types of sort of different. Eric Ten Hag has slightly changed the way we do things. He does it sort of game by game. We play with certain principles for one game, and then we sort of change sort of the way we're doing things. And I think when in some of the games this season, we've seen sort of different facets and different ideas being used in build-up. And I honestly think going forward, we will always see Ten Hag sort of making changes between the 4-2-3-1, the 4-3-3. I think throughout his career, he's been very, very flexible. And I do see what you're saying. I actually think with the way we want to go, Manchester United, I think we've got midfield players who can do both roles. I really, really do. I think Eriksen is quite good alongside Casemiro in a pivot. I think Eriksen's been quite good for us in that position. He's not the most suitable player, sort of in those deeper areas during build-up, but I think Eriksen has shown that he can play in that pivot alongside Casemiro. But Eriksen's also shown he can play higher up as an 8, right? So I think we have got the flexibility. I think Ten Hag's instilled flexibility. And with the links we've seen to Jude Bellingham, maybe, as you said, maybe we are looking to go for more 2-8s instead of sort of a 4-2-3-1. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But I don't think Bellingham is the right signing. I think the price is silly. I don't think he's the right profile that we need in our team. I think we need more of a ball carrier. I don't think Bellingham is so much that. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Ibra says if you get Bellingham alone, it sounds stupid, but with his seeing qualities, you can mold him. You can. But I think the price, I think just the situation that a lot of clubs are in, I don't think it's going to happen, to be honest with you, for us. And I think Real Madrid as well, I don't see it. Liverpool, I don't see it. Man City, I don't know. You are right there with Bellingham. Where's he actually going to go? Is he just going to stay at Dortmund? It's going to be interesting to see. Yep, 3-0. It's all over. Yeah, I think Ferguson is out. I think he was definitely a doubt for the game. I think De Zerbi is going to give. I don't know whether he's given any conferences recently to talk about the Brighton team. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. Yeah, I don't know how we're going to do it. I don't even know how we're going to win tomorrow. I mean, we obviously talked through the tactical side of things a little bit, but it's going to be a hard job tomorrow, guys. I mean, I just don't know. I don't see how. I just don't know. I don't know, to be honest with you. I like to be positive, but I just don't know. I like watching Brighton. I like Brighton as a team so much. The only thing that gives me a bit of hope is that Brighton are not clinical at all. Sheffield United are in here. Oh no. I don't even know why I'm hoping they're going to score. It's 3-0. But yeah, I'm uncertain about tomorrow. Yeah, McAllister can play literally anywhere in midfield. I think he's shown he can play as a 6, an 8, a 10. I think he can play anywhere in that midfield. To be honest with you, McAllister. It's going to be interesting to see what we do in that sort of midfield area in the summer. But yes, guys, please do smash a like on the video if you're watching. Let's try and hit 20 likes. I don't know how many likes we're actually on, guys. But if you are watching right now, please do smash a like on the video. And please do subscribe if you're new as well. We're on 12 likes, guys. So let's try and smash up the likes. If you haven't liked already, please do smash a like. But yes, guys, tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is the day. Big game against Brighton. Hopefully we can sort of get through the game and we can sort of somehow come out with a win. I think a lot of fans are disappointed from the recent results, and a lot of fans are very, very nervous about what could happen. But let's be honest, guys, we still have got some sort of a chance. It's not fully over. We're not playing against Barcelona. We're playing against a team that can play like Barcelona, but they aren't clinical. They haven't got huge amounts of quality, clinical edge in that final third, as much as the top teams have, for example. So that we may have to get a bit lucky. We might have to have De Gea pull out some great saves. We might have to our defensive players making last minute blocks, things like that. But you just never know. Ali says, yeah, like with the 3-2-5 with the fullbacks inverting or dropping to the 3, your 2-8s have to be a bit attack-minded. Yeah, exactly. It just depends what Ten Hag wants to do. We've seen him be very, very flexible this season. We've sort of changed our structure so much. And we've seen him use different profiles in unorthodox areas, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think you're right. I think if we do try and sign a player like Timber to play at right back, then that obviously means then you do need a little bit more of a sort of attacking edge to your midfield players. But if we sign Jeremy Frimpong, for example, he is almost like a right winger, the right back or right wing back who plays for Leverkusen. Jeremy Frimpong is almost like a winger, isn't he? So if you sign Frimpong, you've got such an attacking sort of drive down that right hand side that you might need a defender that's a little bit more adept defensively, and in the first phase, a sort of a right central midfield player to cover for Frimpong when he is obviously making those runs forward. So it's really, really interesting. It'd be interesting to see how we go about it in the summer, which type of profiles we're going to make, because there's lots and lots of different sort of options that we've got. But you are right; it all depends on sort of keeping the profiles balanced. We've got to keep the profiles balanced in the team to make sure we've got a mixture of players who are comfortable in our own third, in the midfield third, in the attacking third, profiles that are comfortable going to feet and sort of running in behind, coming to feet and sort of going in behind sort of our attacking players. So yeah, you're definitely right. We've got to make sure we've got a balanced team. Alien Tenno says, if we win tomorrow, on the plus side, the final, 3rd of June. Martinez, I think, won't come back. I don't think he should be rushed back as well. But Varane could get injured again, I suppose. But Varane will probably be back for that game. Varane will probably be back, which is good. And if you sell Maguire Lindelof, you can get a Timber that can play Ben White right back role and be inverted, drop into a 3. Yep, you are right. You are right there. I've just got a few concerns about the Timber deal for Timber to come in as a centre back. I'm not too sure on that personally, but I'm very skeptical when it comes to football in terms of I think about the worst case scenario, and I think you have to do that as a football coach or a football analyst or a football fan. At times you have to look at things, what can go wrong, and I just think Martinez, Timber, if De Gea stays as well, Wan-Bissaka, Malacia, we've got a lot of profiles in that sort of defensive area that are not commanding, not dominant, and we could get turned over a little bit in the air. We could get dominated aerially by teams and physically by teams, and I'm not too confident with that, not too comfortable with that. I know Timber uses his good positioning, Martinez uses his good positioning, their physicality to get out of those situations against players that are really, really good in terms of aerial duels. I know Timber and Martinez have got good strengths that can get them out of those situations. But I do think with De Gea as well, we haven't got a commanding goalkeeper. And so I think if you've got a goalkeeper that's more dominant, I think Timber and Martinez, it could sort of work. But still, for me, I think Martinez needs to go alongside a more physically imposing centre back in terms of duels. And Varane does that well this season. Last season, he did it well as well in terms of his aerial duels, his ground duels. He's quite dominant. Frimpong or Timber for right back, or keep Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. I'll be honest with you. I would, obviously we're scouting players all the time, but I would look at a striker, a midfield player, and a goalkeeper first, then a centre back, then a right back. I think the right back situation is not as important as a lot of people make out. I think Dalot has been slightly disrespected in recent weeks. I've said this a lot of times on Twitter. I think Dalot is actually a very, very good player. I think a lot of people don't quite understand what he brings to us. I think Wan-Bissaka has also improved a lot. I've been happy with Wan-Bissaka's development. So for me, I'm okay. I'm not happy, but I'm okay with Wan-Bissaka and Dalot for now. I think that we need a striker because we don't have one. Martial's always injured. Weghorst isn't going to stay. So we have to sign a striker physically because we don't have another one. Right? We don't really have one because Martial you can't rely on him to be fit in any given moment. So I think the striker has to be you with your budget. Let's say you get 200 million, 100 or 120 million is going to go on the striker, isn't it? We're probably going to sign a big striker, big name striker. So the first thing you do is get the striker, 180 to 100 million, whatever it might be. That's the first position for me, a striker, because we just don't have one. And then I think midfielder and goalkeeper are then the next two priorities for me. They'll probably cost, about 50 million each, I imagine. I think we're going to go for a midfielder that's not the high end. I don't see us signing Bellingham and Kane, or Bellingham and Osimhen, or Bellingham and Ramos. I don't think that's sort of realistic. So I think we'll sign a midfielder and a goalkeeper for a combined maybe 100 million. So that'll obviously get us to 200 million. And then you've got the player sales. We're probably going to make a fair bit from player sales. Right? So let's say you make 80 to 100 million. Let's say 80 million from player sales, because we never sell our players well. But I do think we will make money from Henderson and Maguire, McTominay, maybe Fred, these type of players. Let's say we make 80 million around that. You've then got some money to reinvest in the centre-back area and then the right-back area, or another midfield player, because I think we need two midfield players ahead of one right-back, to be honest with you. I think midfield players are probably more sort of urgent at the moment. So that is my answer. I know that was a long-winded answer, but let me know what you think. Ali says, no, fire the questions away, mate. I'm sat here. I've got all the time in the world. Just watching Man City pass the ball around anyway, so I'm not doing a lot. I like your analysis a lot, and I follow you on Twitter. Thanks a lot, mate. One more thing about the goalkeeper situation. What do you think of the rumours that we don't sign one? We have to sign one, don't we? We have to sign one, because even if De Gea stays, we need a backup, because we've got Butland. I think it's on loan, isn't he? I think Butland's on loan. So you've got to sign a goalie anyway, because Heaton isn't going to be the backup, is he, really? I think Heaton's sort of more the third goalkeeper. So we need to sign one anyway. So even if it's like a young goalkeeper that we slowly embed De Gea out, sort of De Gea's the first choice next year, but this new goalkeeper comes in and is sort of under the cover a little bit. So if he does make mistakes, you've got the shield of De Gea there, who's a more experienced goalkeeper, and sort of, with the young goalkeeper, he's not going to attract that much attention because he's sort of below De Gea. That's maybe something we might do. He plays some cup games and things like that, maybe. But yeah, I'm confident we'll sign one goalkeeper, whether it's a first choice or a second choice. I'll take Tomori over Timber. Interesting. The only way we don't sign a new goalkeeper is if we don't get new owners. Yeah, I think midfielder and striker, by the looks of it, are our two priorities. From what I've read about sort of Ten Hag and what he wants, but I think goalkeeper for me has got to be up there as well somewhere. I think it's absolutely crucial. 40 million plus Maguire for Kane. Honestly, I'm not saying no to Harry Kane. He's not my first choice, but I'm not going to say no to Harry Kane. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think we should be pursuing Kane. I think we need a younger striker that's going to stay with us for many, many years. I think we've signed so many stopgap strikers in recent years. We've signed sort of the likes of, we've signed Van Persie, we've signed Ronaldo, we've signed Zlatan, we've signed Igalo, Weghorst, and all these different strikers just to get by. Cavani as well. We've signed all these strikers just to get by for a year or 2 years. I want to look for the future. The same in the goalkeeper area, the same in the midfielder area. I want players who are around between 20 and 26 years old, something around that sort of age, that we can embed into the team. They haven't got to play every game. Just embed them into the team, just nice and early during their career, and we can start building a proper team for the future. That would be my sort of thoughts. But then you cannot sell Dean Henderson. Look, Dean Henderson, I haven't actually got that much of an issue with his ability. I don't think he's a bad goalkeeper. I don't think he's brilliant. I think he's okay. I think he does everything to an okay standard. He sweeps pretty well. His distribution's okay. His shot stopping's not bad. I know he's conceded quite a few shots from far out, but his actual reflexes are not too bad. What else is there? His cross claiming is quite good, actually. But I think with what he said about the club and sort of his attitude and things like that, I think he's going to get sold, because I just don't think there's any way back for him. But I think we would get good money for Dean Henderson, to be honest with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I think I totally agree. Timber and Lukaku. My worry is we don't create enough. Yeah, I think you're right, Bucklock, and that's why if you sign a goalkeeper and a midfielder, you've got a goalkeeper who's more proactive, who stops transitions more because he comes out and sweeps or comes out and claims things. If you've got a goalkeeper who's more proactive that can get you on the attack quicker, you've got more chance then of turning an opposition transition into your own transition and moving up the pitch. If you've got a goalkeeper who sweeps better, you've got more chance of stopping the opposition attack earlier and regaining possession and sustaining attacks, because you keep stopping these transitions of the opposition, and you can then move forward yourself and sort of attack. So I think the goalkeeper solves a few issues. And then you've got the midfield player. If we can get a midfield player who's sort of more comfortable under pressure, who's a bit more of a dictator, if we can get that sort of midfield player who's a bit more of a dictator of play, a bit more of a tempo setter in midfield that we can use to try and keep possession better, then obviously we can create more chances for this striker. But also, what type of striker do we sign? Do we sign a striker like Osimhen, who is he's only there to score, only there to score goals, but his out of possession work is quite good. Osimhen, his pressing, his harrying of defenders is quite good. But Osimhen is not going to create many chances for his teammates. He's very much a box striker, whereas Harry Kane, Gonçalo Ramos are more players that they score goals, but they also facilitate. They also facilitate the rest of the team. They also allow the rest of the team to score goals. Gonçalo Ramos's work rate is also very, very good. His pressing is very, very good out of possession as well. So it's going to be interesting to see whether we sign a striker who's just a box striker, or whether we sign a striker that's more of a creative striker, sort of like a Harry Kane, who can create chances for other players as well. I agree with you there. I sort of agree with what you're saying. I mean, we do create a lot of chances. In certain games, but what I'm going to say is we're inconsistent at creating chances. At home to Everton, we should have scored 7 goals, and I'm not joking. We should have scored 7 goals. There's another game as well. At home to Seville, we played very, very well. Created a lot of chances. So there's a lot of games this season where we have created a lot of chances and we haven't taken them. But there's other games this season, away to Newcastle, away to Liverpool, get away to Seville, away to Brentford. We haven't hardly created a chance. So I think we're inconsistent, but we do often create chances, but we can't convert them. A lot of times where Weghorst, Martial, Sancho, etc. have not taken their chances when they've come. So I think works both ways, I think. Fully agree, Ali. Yeah, Sancho situation. Sancho, as I said, very, very much facilitated by the system. If he's got runners around him, he can use his good decision-making, his good way to pass that he does have in his locker, although he's not showing it at the moment, to find teammates, right? So we know, God, this Man City team, but we know Sancho is best when he's got runners around him. He can be a facilitator in there. That's where his best games sort of come as a number 10 at home to Leicester, when he came on as a sub, when we've got runners around him, when we've got sort of movement around him, and his weight of pass is really, it can be really, really good. And his decision making, his eye for a pass is good. You are right. If you are going to sign Diogo Costa, or there's that guy at Valencia, I can't pronounce his name, but there's a young goalkeeper at Valencia, like Mamad Deshavelli, or I can't pronounce his name, but he plays for Valencia, the goalkeeper there. Or if you sign Mike Magnon, any of these good up-and-coming goalkeepers, or very good already goalkeepers, in Mike Magnon, sort of Diogo Costa's good now, but he's still younger. If you do sign these goalkeepers that are promising goalkeepers or top goalkeepers, obviously they are going to cost some sort of big amounts of money, but that's what you've got to pay. Man City with Alisson, Liverpool with Alisson. They've gone out and spent big money on goalkeepers, and it's paid off for them. So you have to do it. Ramos is not the most mobile striker. I'm going to be honest with you. He is not. He's not the most sort of agile player. His dribbling is not great. His sort of mobility is not the best. So no, he isn't really that player. He's more ball to feet, to be honest with you. He does make some movements, but his movements are best sort of in the box area, and he's more of a ball to feet player, to be honest with you. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'd take Harry Kane. I wouldn't mind that approach. To be honest with you, I wouldn't mind that approach. Um, I think will Man United be planning to do that? I don't trust Man United under the current ownership and the structure we've got to plan for these situations. So that's why I'm a bit worried. If we bring in a Kane, have we actually got a plan after Kane to go and get somebody else? Because with the strikers we've signed in recent years, we just haven't planned well at all. We've signed strikers. And fair enough, we've signed good strikers, but we've never had a plan. What are we going to do after that striker leaves? It's the same with Ronaldo. We had no plan last summer. I know what happened with Ronaldo, and it's very, very extenuating circumstances, but we never planned what's going to happen when Ronaldo leaves. We ended up bringing in Vegos, so we don't have these plans in place, which is a shame. Xavi Simons, he's a great player from PSV. Yeah, he's a great player. I think Ferguson for me is top. He's going to be top quality. He looks like a top quality talent, to be honest with you. But again, I've seen some reports saying Brighton don't want to sell. He might sign a new contract. So let's see. But yes, guys, I think I'm going to head off now. It's been a long show, an hour and a half. But please do smash a like on the video, guys, if you've enjoyed the show. I know we've done a bit of tactical talk, but we've also talked about summer signings and things like that and our season so far. But I really appreciate everybody coming along. I'm hoping to do more shows like this, try and keep the content consistent, but I appreciate everybody coming along. Let's hope tomorrow we can get a result. Come on, United. Let's try and get a result tomorrow. Let's hope we can get sort of into the FA Cup final. I appreciate all the support. Do follow me on Twitter at ThreadmanChazza. Do subscribe if you're new. Do also join my Discord community. There's a link to my Discord community in the description. If you want to sort of join my Discord community, you can. Okay, so we have chats about Man United and things like that. Very, very casual chats. Nice community. We've got over 100 members in that community. So go to the link in the description to join that Discord community if you want. Thanks a lot, Booklord. Thanks a lot, Ibris. Thanks a lot, Alien Tenno. I appreciate that, mate. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Cheers, guys.